This is Gevrey Brothers and Rudd, the wine merchant in London, their own brand of Gevrey Chambertin. It's a 2019 vintage, and the actual winemaking is done for them by Rossignol Trapet, and that is a producer that I've featured a few times before. So I have had before the 2019 vintage that is branded as Rossignol Trapet. Very interested to compare. What do we have here? Very nice start with the cherry. If I remember correctly, the Rossignol Trapet own brand version of this wine, which may just be the same thing relabeled, but that original Rossignol Trapet one had these kind of green edges to it, sort of green peppery notes. Almost didn't feel like it was quite ready. That was the same vintage, the same Gevrey Chambertin, blah, blah, blah. Whereas this, lovely and fresh and fruity on the nose. And then concentrated, dense, nice and silky, nice and smooth on the palate. I bought this from Gevrey Brothers and Rudd actually in the shop. So I asked the guy behind the counter if he knew whether or not there was any real difference between the BBR labelled Rossignol Trapet Gevrey Chambertin and the Rossignol Trapet labelled Rossignol Trapet Gevrey Chambertin. He wasn't sure, but one thing he did point out is that normally for their own label range, they do ask the wine producers to make a style that will be ready fairly early. If you've looked at Gevrey Brothers and Rudd's website, they have these, you get this on a lot of wine merchants, they have these indicators, these icons that show a sort of standing up bottle, a bottle at an angle and a bottle lying flat, whether it should be for laying down or I think the diagonal one is, it would improve from laying down, but you could also drink it now, and standing up is it's best to be just drunk now. That was interesting that if you compare on their own website what they say about the Rossignol Trapet version of the Gevrey Chambertin, I think that's the diagonal line, so it's suggesting it's probably okay now, but it may be better to lay down. Whereas their own brand one, they do say drink now, and the drinking windows cited are also different. So that might be a clue that there could indeed be a difference between these two wines. So that's an interesting question. I wonder what it is that you do in the vineyard, or presumably more in the winery, to sort of bring a wine forward like that. If you're tasked with making two different wines from the same potentially set of grapes, how do you encourage it to be ready sooner? I don't know if that's perhaps something to do with the levels of extraction, or something to do with when you vary the picking dates that make it sort of appear to be drinkable in a shorter time frame. Comparing this to my memory of that Rossignol Trapet version of more or less this same wine, that did seem a lot greener. It did seem less ready. So whatever it is they've done appears to work. Or perhaps I'm just very suggestive, maybe, I don't know. And I've been tricked into thinking that yes, this is ready by the literature. The tasting notes, the official tasting notes provided for the two wines, are also quite different. I feel like the tasting notes for this may have been a little bit thin on the ground, but it's essentially, it's just nice. It's soft, lovely soft waft of cherry, nicely balanced, no rough edges, really very, very drinkable on the palate. So I don't know if there's maybe a sacrifice that is made if you need to make a wine that is considered ready somewhat sooner than would be the norm. Maybe this is a tiny bit simplistic in a way right now, but it is also a relatively young Gevrey Chambertin. It's only had 5 years, just under, since it came off the vines. It's a testament to what you can do in the winery and or vineyard. I still don't quite understand the trickery involved in making a wine that is so ready now when, as I said, the other version of this wine felt very much the opposite, something that really wasn't quite ready yet. Some 2019s are quite drinkable already. That one wasn't, this one is. Go figure. But it's good. Happy with that. Cheers.